When the 2019 spin-off came out, it was nothing short of wild. Our favorite Crawley household and their servants went through an assassination attempt. Some big secrets were exposed, and even more romance between the people living below the stairs flourished. And the much-anticipated sequel came out earlier this year too. In this video, we'll talk about how Hugh Bonneville doesn't think we should get our hopes up for a third movie. First off, what exactly did he say? In an interview with Radio Times, Bonneville made it clear that he doesn't think there'll be a third movie, and we kinda get where he's coming from. Maybe the show's run its course, and even spin-off films can't bring it back from the dead. He said he isn't too sure because even though they had a lot of energy while filming A New Era, it's starting to feel like that high's wearing off. Hugh also added that the movies had their great moments, and it was time to say goodbye, which is heartbreaking to hear if you love the aristocratic family as we do. Second, it looks like Hugh's moving on to better things, because his new film's nothing like Downton. Seriously, forget Robert Crawley, because he's fully moved on. In the Netflix thriller I Came By, Hugh's playing Hector Blake, a judge pit against a graffiti artist who likes to spray paint the houses of rich people, which seems very Robin Hood-like if you ask us. Then Toby breaks into good old Hector's home and finds something terrible. You know how it goes, the body in the basement type beat. This new home invasion thriller type of movie's got a lot of twists packed for you. Plus, seeing Crawley in this wild new role's really hard to believe. But you best believe it because Hugh does a great job pulling off his character's dark side. He plays the role of a cruel psychopath who abuses his privilege with the perfect flair. Also, the second movie didn't get the best response. Sure, the first one took off and everyone remembers it perfectly, but the second one, not so much. Objectively, it's definitely better produced than the first film, but it didn't get that great of a response at the box office. Like, the sequel took off right where they left us in the first film. It starts with Branson and Lucy's wedding and then ties together all the loose plot threads of the first movie. We get to see what goes down between Daisy and Andy, and Robert looks into why a French marquis left a villa to Lady Violet in his will. We also get to see Thomas get a better chance at love. And in the end, Lady Violet finally dies from the illness we knew she had in the first movie. The actors do a great job of fitting right into the same roles as if they'd never left them at all. But the direction and writing aren't the reason why ticket sales were so low. To be very honest, it's mostly because of the impact COVID's had on us. The generation that loved Downton Abbey's now too scared of the pandemic to go to cinemas. Plus, it felt more like this movie could have been released online instead of on the big screen. Still, this lack of success is probably why the team's considering cutting their losses short and not making a third one. Okay, so if a third movie did come, what would we get to see in it? Well, Hugh answered this question himself earlier this year. First, he talked about the possibility of his character dying in the third movie. Come on, that's pretty hard to believe. He's not that old. But if Bonneville really wants to leave the franchise, then it might play out that way. But let's be real, his death would be a huge loss for all of us, because the Dowager Countess just died in the second film, and that loss was hard enough as it is. Will we go into the darker side of history? Well, we might if we got the third movie. So far, it's all been romanticized, but after the First World War, things got pretty dark in history, so that's probably not something we want to see. Still, it might be interesting to see Lady Mary in these new circumstances. Imagine if the Crawleys had to face the financial crisis of the 1930s. There are many ways the story could go on from where the second movie leaves off. Even though Lady Violet's gone, there are new people coming in. The Crawleys welcome new family members like Tom Branson's new wife, Lucy. The Bransons just had a new baby as well. Thomas Barrow, who was Downton's butler, quit his job, so Mr. Carson has to go back to teach Andy Parker how to do his job. There's a lot that could happen to these characters yet. Finally, A New Era's a pretty good conclusion. It's in the title. We got some pretty cute moments in the film, especially for romances that have been developing for a pretty long time. And we got some new ones too. Joseph and Phyllis finally got engaged, and the proposal was adorable. And Mr. Mason moved in with Mrs. Matmore. Let's not forget that Edith decided to write once more. Even Myrtle got a happy ending when she finally managed to learn how to talk like an American. If you look at it this way, the story's pretty much reached a comfortable conclusion. And even if they decided not to make a third movie, it wouldn't really matter. But the show's creator, Julian Fellowes, promised us that if we really wanted more questions answered, well, all we have to do is ask, and he'll deliver. So it looks like the possibility of a third movie isn't entirely off the table, even if the chances are pretty low. But if we do get a third movie, what we know for sure is that the entire cast, apart from the characters who've died, are gonna return to the show. And if it does release, it'll probably be a long time before it does. If you want to get an idea of the release date, the first movie came out in 2019, and the second one just came out this year. So with that math, a possible third one should be expected in 2024. And here's some other other related news you might have missed out on. First off, some exclusive tea from the set of A New Era. A lot took place on set when they were filming the sequel that came out in June. First, we learned that if it wasn't possible to film in the French Riviera, Scotland was plan B. It's hard to believe, but in the second season, we could have moved to the Highlands instead of the French Riviera. Jim said that it was because coronavirus restrictions were changing 2 weeks before they flew to France. They were very ready for the possibility that they might have to go to Scotland instead. Yikes! When the plan to go abroad was approved, there was a little bit of a jealousy on the set. Not everyone in the cast got to go abroad to film scenes. Bonneville, Elizabeth, and Laura were among those who were going, but most of the characters ended up having to stay behind. We'd be upset too if we were in their place, so we get it. Especially when Jim and Raquel sent back pictures of their beautiful new home. Jim laughed. We kept sending them pictures of the sunny south of France. It was pouring rain in the UK, which was a terrible way to start the summer. Second, Lauren Carmichael talked about her acting career. The Downton Abbey actress had much to say about her time on the show and where she wanted to go forward. Some actors just perfectly fit into the role that they get, and it'll be a long time before we look at Lauren and don't instantly think of the spiky Lady Edith. It's impossible not to. The cultural impact of the show's going to remain even though it's ended, and it looks like even Lauren gets that. She said that she's lucky to have gotten the chance to play this character because it was a pretty cool storyline, especially the journey that the character had. She added that she thinks of the rest of the cast as her family, and it was really a special time in her life when she was working on that show. And we get why. It was the first major role she got right out of drama school. It looks like she'll play another equally interesting character in the second season of The Secret She Keeps. Finally, Julian Fellowes talks about the show. Not only did he build this gorgeous world from scratch for us to watch, but he also wrote every single episode, and both of the movies. Talk about putting in the hours. He had some pretty interesting stuff to share in an interview where he told us that he thought the show was a great reflection of the real world, especially of class and privilege, and we can't say we disagree, especially with characters like Miss O'Brien and Mr. Carson. He also talked about why he doesn't want the series to focus on the dark side of that era. Come on, would we want to see the Crawleys doing the worst possible things? Probably not. It's not like the series doesn't discuss difficult topics, they just do it without going too far. That's a wrap for this video. Were you hoping to get a third Downton Abbey film? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. We'll see you next time.